G'day, Heavy Mag listeners, watchers, viewers, and readers. My name is Ezekiel Ox. I'm the lead singer of Mammal, and today we are here to talk about our new album, The Penny Drop.
Beautiful. Zeke, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
It's an absolute pleasure, as always, Kris.
As
I feel like
always.
it hasn't been. I have to comment again. This background is. I'm almost ready to hang up. To be honest.
I wish I could do like a full screen and I'd put me socks on and me boxes and I'd get the full kit and caboodle on for you.
It's your funeral, mate. It's your funeral.
Now, Mammal returned with your new album, as you say, The Penny Drop, on March the 6th. So how are you feeling about it, mate? It's been a while since albums.
Yeah, look, it was a huge process for us getting it together because we had the transition of bass players, which led to this record. Since Mammal's been back since 2017, we put out Community, Virtue Signaling, and Dead, which were all with Nick Adams, our former bass player. And then this album, we put out Crime Scene and The War. And then this album was our first long player. And, you know, we're a rock band and a metal band, so we felt like we needed to put out an album. Apparently now you're supposed to just do singles, but we feel like we wanted to make a statement. And I don't think there's any doubt we have. Full credit to, speaking in footy parlance, full credit to the boys, but full credit to the producer, Jimmy Marutis, full credit to Tyson Fish, and also to Forrester Saville, who mixed and mastered this record. You're only as good as your team, and we had the absolute bomb on this record. So it sounds the way it should. Everyone's performances are great. And we felt like we had a chance to stretch our legs on this. So we just pumped for the release on March 6th,
Yeah, so tell us a bit more about the album from a musical point of view and what you were going for. Is it what Mammal fans would expect?
I think so. I think I don't think it's a massive departure. What happened was the main thing that, whether people notice it or not, is that Nick used to always write the first riff. So when we started writing this album, we didn't really know where to start. So Pete, for those that don't know, Pete, our guitar player, is a farmer, and he sort of operates this huge acreage up in northwest Victoria. And he sort of went through a point of view where he just started writing a riff a day for 30 days and just rinsed everything he could. And that was new for us. So as opposed to starting with the groove, we kind of started with the riff, which obviously leads to the groove. And then Zane sort of went through a process of putting those together into songs. And then I went through a process of freestyling over 2 days. I just went down to Melbourne and got drunk and had a bit of fun with the boys, and they throw ideas at me. And we came up with, I think we ended up freestyling to like 20 of them, and 17 of them ended up getting written. And then 5 of them got dropped, and you end up with the 12 songs that you have on the Penny Drop. So different process for us, but it's a weird thing, Kris. I think it's a negative thing to do, to monitor yourself when you're working. You just want to be working with each member as a whole and as an individual with the individual part. You want to be really conscious of just doing your job, not self-monitoring too much, and letting the producer and letting the engineers focus on what the whole thing is. That's a really important thing to do. And I think we all did that really well. I know that Cade came in last, which we thought was fair. We didn't want Cade having to do too much sort of development because we thought that would be unfair for a new member. But I think the next album, we're going to want Cade to be a lot more involved because he's sort of not a new guy anymore. He's been here for over 2 years now, and he's played shows with us, and he's just such an instrumental part of this record. I can't wait for everyone to hear what he's doing on that Warwick of his.
So you said the fact that you freestyled the lyrics. So does that mean that you didn't have the lyrics written when you went into the studio, that you just made them up on the spot?
It's both. So at the start of the process, before the bass tracks went down and when we were songwriting, I went into a rehearsal studio. We literally pumped the demos through the PA, and I just had a 58. And I remember Keanu Reeves is a good example. Pete just said, sing something about Keanu Reeves. And so I did. And that's how that happened. So at the very beginning point, some probably 25% of what you hear on the record was just freestyled on the spot and then redone in the studio when we went back in with Tyson. But 80% of it was my voice and my sort of my rhythms and my sort of sometimes a word, sometimes a hook, but always an energy. 5 Days, I remember, came out really strongly in the freestyle, but the freestyle is really there to establish that immediacy, that moment of inception when you get the energy of the track. With Mammal, you don't want it to be too sort of brain, it should more be heart and probably groin, really. And we sort of tried really hard to keep that real immediacy to it. And but that involves me just freestyling for 2 7-hour sessions. It was long, hard days, but in the end, what you hear on the album, which goes for 45 minutes, is sort of 14 hours condensed down. So it's a lot of work that goes into it. And then a lot of me just playing sort of crossword, sort of cryptic crossword and picking words and trying to make them work.
Now, you've been quoted as saying that this album is not for the kids. It's grown-up fun. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Mammal. I mean, no, if you, I think there's ways to expose your children to the politics we're talking about. I really do. But I mean, the album's, it's sweary. It's got moments of real violence on it. I think children can enjoy it. Like, I've never been one with my son who's now 14. I never minded if Griffin wanted to listen to NWA's Fuck the Police when he was 4 years old. I think it is about the energy, but mammals for people that want to think about ideas. And some of those ideas are incredibly complex. This album discusses everything from genocide to rape culture to misogyny, homophobia, queerphobia, the ruling class. There's a line on one of the songs, guillotine the billionaires and on with the show. These are ideas that I think you can talk to your children about, the general idea of the fact that too few have too much while too many have too little. I think that's okay to bring your kids up on. But when it comes to the solutions for those problems, and ideas about like fascist violence, that's not something that I would be exposing my child to, because these are serious things. And the genocide in Gaza is, I can imagine, would be incredibly traumatic for a child. And I think we need to protect our children somewhat. So we raise our children to know what's right. But sometimes it doesn't mean that an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old is ready to fight, and nor should they have to. And that's why we fight for them, so that hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll get to a point where it's all fixed by the time they get there. I don't think it's going to happen, but we leave a legacy for them that they can learn about as they get older. But yeah, I mean, there's some pretty heavy shit on this record, and I personally would say that it's got an explicit warning on it. I wouldn't be showing my 6-year-old some of these songs.
That's actually a good point I want to raise with this, because I've been fortunate enough to listen to the album, and Mammal are known as a political band, especially yourself. You're known as a political person because you are outspoken, but I didn't once feel like you were preaching to me on the album. Like, it didn't once feel like you were trying to force your point down the listener's throat. You were saying what you had to say, and you were making your point.
Can I interrupt? Like, what about the line? What about the line at the end of Agree to Disagree, where I say, never mind, because I'll be there to shove it down your throat? You didn't even feel it then?
I didn't feel that was political, no. No, I'm glad you say that, but it didn't feel political, no. It felt like you were shoving the music down our throat. You've got that innate ability to combine your music and your political views into a package that doesn't come across like you're sitting in a classroom being spoken down to. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, look, I mean, I've spent a lot of time on the street organising, whether it's Save the Palace through to refugee rights movements, through to, even pushing for gay marriage before we got it. I was on the street doing that. And one of the main things you'll learn when you're trying to strive for social justice, when you're trying to turn people's ideas around, trying to get them to join so you can win, is that you've got to be able to talk to everybody. You've got to be able to frame what you see as the truth. Politics is about numbers in the end. And, what I see is right and just is, I know that a lot of other people think that, but if I'm trying to convince someone, then the last thing you want to do is be pushing them away. It's important to be convincing. It's important to not be preachy. It's important to give people good reasons to join your movement. And in Mammal's case, you know, we're right. Don't worry about that. We are right and we are righteous. But the music makes it very easy, Kris, because I think that it's really fucking easy fronting a band like Mammal. Like, I mean, the three guys, you know, Cade, Pete, and Zane, they're just phenomenal. And I find that both the intent they have, the instincts they have as musicians, and what they bring to me, it leans itself towards the aggression. But you know, I'm not here to preach. I'm just here to try to express what I feel. And what I feel is that we need more justice. And what I feel is that we're going fucking nowhere, and we need to start moving forward. And it's baby steps with politics, but post, you know, we're in a really interesting time, very polarized, and Mammal's all about bringing you to us, not turning you away. You know, we're not asking you to pick a side except against basically a genocide or something. It's not that complicated. You can hold a conservative position. You can choose not to get the vaccine. You can come to the party. We will have that discussion with you. But the main thing is we just don't want people that are trying to kill all the Jews or whatever.
Yeah. Now, how would you say that the penny drop differs musically to the majority?
It's heavier. It's way heavier. And it's production wise, it's probably more modern, and we spend a lot more time on wanting it to sound more as a recording. We still haven't figured out how to play all the songs live. It's not like layers of stuff like Beach Boys, Pet Sounds or anything, but the majority was very much recorded off click track. It was with Eric Sarafin, who did a much wider, it's almost more Black Crows or something. The majority, it's more live, more funk. This album's much heavier. It's got more metal overtones. And I think, look, I love both records, but it's definitely more of a production, this album. And we spent a lot more time in the studio. The majority was recorded in 12 days. This album took us about 9 months.
Right. Now, there's a couple of songs on the album that I want to talk about particularly. The first is the first actual collaboration you've had on a Mammal album. So it's a song with Fresh Violet called Bottom End. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, look, we had the track. I came up with the idea of just wanting to sort of rant about, you know, wanting to have the bass of the working class and wanting to have the bass of Cade. And it was a bit of a manic kind of freestyle, that one. That's one of the ones on the album that a lot of what you hear is literally what was freestyled.
Okay.
And then we were looking for something to sort of make it a bit more angular, probably give it a point of difference. And, you know, Violet had toured with Mammal in 2017, 18, I think it was. And we just thought, why not get Violet in? We'd always loved her work. She's an absolute pro. You know, she's just unbelievable in the studio. She has just released another album, and we just thought that it'd be a good fit. We knew it'd work. So we introduced Violet to Tyson. Violet came down to the studio, and we had a couple of sessions on the track. And I think it's wild. You know, Violet went with this sort of, I don't know, like Missy Elliott, kind of like fucking femme sort of bitch slap kind of thing. I don't even know what it is. That
Yeah, I couldn't describe it either. I know I liked it, but I couldn't describe it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. So can't wait for everyone to hear it. And then yeah, you can get around it. Anyone that doesn't know about Violet already, then they can get around that as well. But yeah, it was just seemed fitting. We also wanted to look at the idea. Mammals are quite a butch band. You know, it's a very male band. We have worked in the past with Zanny Kolak, the amazing violin player from Melbourne. We certainly have always had a lot of women come to our shows, and we've always, you know, fought against sexism and homophobia and that sort of stuff. And but it just felt like it was time to maybe get a woman into the studio to sort of dull the butch a little bit, which I think Violet did.
Most definitely she did. And there's another song on there called Maybe that has got you singing clean vocals the whole way through. It's a bit of a personal song too.
Yeah, it is. It's a song about what Mammal's been through. Like a lot of bands, we've broken up, we've made up, and now we've been through one member change, and it's really difficult to describe. And I'm sure anyone watching this who's been in a band would understand just the amount of heart you've got in it, the amount you care. but then it's also a very stressful job. And it's very difficult to detach yourself from how personal you feel about the art and stuff. And so you can end up in situations where you actually are quite upset at each other. And then sometimes you just get to a point where you can't do it anymore. And I know that's how Nick felt. I know that's how we felt back in 2010 when we broke up as a group. And that song's about, the 2010 breakup and then the transition away and Nick leaving the band. It's always a time full of anger. And I think that song really seethes. And I tried to be really honest with it. And I really hope that people understand that it comes from a place of love and it comes from a place of trying to be honest. I guess in a way, if you've ever broken up with someone, a friend or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, then that song will probably resonate with you as well. It's about confusion and how easy it is and how close love can be to hate at times.
Very nice. Now, I know we're talking about the penny drop, mate, but you let slip before something about another live album coming out soon. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we've got two. We've now got 2 studio albums and 2 live albums. I think that Mammal will again make another live album, but that'll come down to once we've been touring for a little bit on the songs and once we've got the set list down. Our first live album was made at the Evelyn. Second live album was live at the Annandale, Systematic Automatic. We're a band that really prides ourselves on our live show. And when we do the third live album, that will have lots of guests. So we'll be getting, we'll make it like the first live album is just us. Second live album has Zanny Kolak on violin and Eddie Perfect, the great Eddie Perfect, Broadway composer, on vocals, for those that don't know. And shout out to Eddie Perfect, my best mate, if he's out there watching this. And so we'll be looking to have something pretty interesting on the next tour and making sure that live album is packing a punch. I think that the Mammal studio albums are kind of like something we have to do to fit in with what the industry wants. But really, I think if Mammal started in 1972, we'd probably be the biggest band in the fucking world right now, because we are one of the best live bands you're ever going to see.
I'll second that notion, mate. I shall second, third, and fourth that notion.
On that notion, if any band out there that wants to take us on tour as a support and give us the Pepsi challenge, we're up for it, because we're looking for gigs, man. We're always looking for gigs. So we're a band that's had to do it ourselves a lot, and sometimes, Kris, I wonder if bands don't want us to support them because they're a little concerned about how they'll go after we play before them.
Well, it is a valid concern. It's a valid concern, my friend. He's up pretty fucking good.
That's just fucking soft. They should just head back into the rehearsal room and get better.
Oh, never shy of a comment you are, my friend. I love it.
I will say though, excluding one band from that, one band, She Had. I would never, no, I wouldn't. There's been nights, then I think that Mammal's given Cog as good as we've gotten at least. But what I will say is She Had, that band, unbelievable. And I'm certainly not throwing any shade on the great John Toogood. But if you want to take us out again, then you can guarantee we're not going to blow you away because you fucking She Had. So get us out on tour again, She Had.